Welcome to episode 34 of Rapid Reviews Radio. This week is one of our little bit unusual weeks. We are doing a roundtable lite. We were going to do a heavy roundtable with several guests, but it was over the Sony PS5 announcement, which, if you're listening to this, you're probably aware has been postponed, which means that roundtable has been postponed as well. So today, and always, I am your co-host and moderator, Kylie Wild. I am joined by our most esteemed panel guest, panel, what do you call it when it's not a guest? Someone that's always here.
Part of the furniture.
Okay, that. Pete. So, Pete Beckett, yes. But we're joined by a very special guest. A very wonderful human being named Nana Marfo.
Hello.
How's that for an intro? So, Nana, you are I'm going to say this right, 3D artist?
Yeah, I do 3D art. I do also game reviews and anime reviews. Sometimes I do pretty much a bit of everything, really.
Yes, and I do highly encourage our listeners to go out and have a read of some of your stuff. You do a lot of stuff that I like, which is the anime-based stuff, and a lot of Kingdom's Hearts fans and stuff like that. So there is a wealth of things to be found on your blog. It's a blog, right?
Yeah, it's a blog. Yeah.
Yeah, what is the address? Because I forgot to get it.
nanamarfo.weebly.com.
Yes, which we will add to the show notes so everybody can go check it out.
Please remind me to do that later because I always forget.
Yeah. Oh, it's a good one too. So I do have to ask dear listeners to please forgive me. I'm a little bit scatterbrained. We are recording on a Monday night, which means I'm out of my schedule, which throws me off quite badly.
Yep, and the last time that we recorded on a Monday night, Kylie was drunk, so
I was
improvement this time, though she's not.
I know I'm not drunk this time, but I am still scatterbrained because it wouldn't be me if I wasn't.
Fair.
But this week's subject, roundtable discussion, is a kind of expose on a very inflammatory character, we'll call him, or just a character in general, Randy Pitchford, from Gearbox and 3D Realms. Of course, he started at 3D Realms.
Which I actually didn't know about when I was doing my research on him this week.
Yeah,
right?
I did not know about that either.
I think I only knew because I was so interested in 3D Realms because I'm from Texas and all that stuff. You know, I wasn't far away from their studios and stuff like that. But just as a very, very quick background to anyone who's listening who's not familiar with his work, he started at 3D Realms, which used to be called Apogee, and then left to form, he didn't leave to form, but he left and joined a company called Rebel Boat Rocker, which is weird.
An awesome name because I actually found out that when the guy who set it up left 3D Realms, he was called Rebel and Boat Rocker, so that's what he named his company.
Oh, right. Don't rock the boat.
There you go.
Yeah.
So he decided to call the company Rebel Boat Rocker.
All right, that's not as stupid.
It is still stupid, but it is awesome at the same time.
It's less stupid. I like it better now that I know this. I didn't even know that, so good on you. Their first game released was called Prax War, which was published by EA, our favorite corporation, EA.
Hint for later roundtable discussions.
Yes. Of course, they canceled the game because it's EA. And then they self-published it, and then they started Gearbox Software, which, if you're listening to this, you're probably pretty familiar I just went pure Texan there. You're probably pretty familiar with Borderlands and its sequels.
Yes.
And we've discussed that quite a bit on this show. Because basically, and this is how I got to know who this Randy Pitchford was, the Borderlands was released. It was rushed. It was not supposed to be anything except just a quick moneymaker. And it took everyone by storm. It actually brought in over $1 billion.
$1 billion.
$1 billion in the US. Yes. And so that kind of, I think, brings us up to speed before we get into the more controversial stuff. Does anybody want to add anything? Any more background facts that I've left out?
Only the fact that Borderlands would have tanked had it not been for the dramatic and drastic art style change that they made at the last minute.
Yeah, I do have to agree with that. I did forget about that. The cel-shaded stuff was absolutely... I mean, there had been some shell shading, like Beautiful Joe and stuff, but...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I remember, like, he wants Borderlands to kind of be a bit more realistic, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just a very strange...
Yeah. Can I also add another game series that he also was involved in
Sure.
that I didn't know about until doing the research? Brothers in Arms.
Really? Okay. Again, did not know that myself.
I did not know either.
Yeah, that was their idea of a COD killer, basically.
Right. Yeah, I remember when it came out.
Yes, I didn't know it had 3 sequels, or 2 sequels, sorry. It had 3 games in the series, which was really weird.
I didn't know that either, because if you aren't aware, it was not a COD killer. So.
No, they went for the more realistic approach of, rather than arcadey sort of run and gun, they actually wanted to have a little bit more tactics behind it.
Yeah, I played a demo of it, but God, I can't for the life of me remember anything about it. That's how much it stood out to me. But wow.
I only know Brothers of Arms from the third one, which is a mobile game.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. That explains why I was not familiar with that.
Yeah. I don't remember who... I think they still own the IP, and in an interview that I listened on the IGN podcast that they did with him, a 2-parter, said that they've been this was a couple of years ago anyway, was working on another Brothers in Arms game for years, but have never got it off the ground.
Oh goodness, can't imagine why.
Because it's crap. Moving on.
Yeah, because I'm trying to not go off on a tangent on military run and gun games and which ones are the best. Bad Company. But
Battlefield 1943.
Oh gosh, 2147. Or 21,
Bad Company, yeah, definitely Bad Company for sure.
Yep. But anyway, that's another topic for another roundtable.
Yes.
So, okay. We're going to get into a discussion of the more controversial aspects. We'll start with the latest controversy, because I would like to get both of you guys' point of views, opinions, and thoughts on this. First thing, I'll start with this. On May 29th, Randy Pitchford tweeted out a photo, a still from Duke Nukem 3D, 1996, of a, pig cop.
One of the enemies from the game.
One of the enemies from the game. And instead of LAPD on their uniforms, it says LARD, lard, which comes from pigs. He tweeted it with the statement, "If you want to kill some pig cops this weekend, here's the Duke Nukem 3D 20th Anniversary World Tour," and then a link to the Steam listing.
Mm-hmm.
This caused a lot of, fervor, a lot of attention, because of course it did. And I would like to know. We'll start with Pete, and then now I would like to hear your point of view. How does that statement? Did it even register on your, radar? And if it did it affect your opinion of him?
It did and it didn't. It's a very weird statement, to be honest. Like my one alone is very weird, but his one is also very weird. For me, as someone, I've made very, very clear that I am a big proponent of freedom of speech. He has absolutely every right to say what he does. However, it might have been a little bit distasteful.
Right.
But this is some of the joy of Randy Pitchford, if you want to air quote joy of Pitchford.
Massive air quotes over.
Yeah, definitely. But
Yep.
he, let's just put it lightly, he is a bit of an edgelord,
Yes.
and he likes to say somewhat controversial things for promotional reasons.
Yes.
And to be honest with you, I think this is a slice of genius. Like a madman's genius, but it's a slice of genius.
Yes. So, Nana, how about you? Do you have any thoughts on the statement of showing?
I think it was. I think the thing was just the timing of it, because the tweet
Right.
itself, looking at it, was like it was a quote tweet of him saying, like with the picture, and then he put the caption above that over the picture they first sent. But
Yes.
I think the big thing is that it's like I get that you need to take advantage of situations to promote your game, but it's kind of a bad look when a lot of companies are saying, they stand with you, stand with us, we're going to donate, and all that sort of stuff going on. But it's kind of a bad look when you're just promoting your game. Like, I think the director of Detroit Become Human did something similar, and everyone just went off on him. So
You're exactly right.
I get it's like I can understand somewhat why he did it, but it's just very bad timing.
Yeah, I would agree. The timing is definitely well off. It's not very well timed in that respect, and I would say the same thing about David Cage and Detroit Become Human too. That's another controversial figure right there.
Yes.
Again, it was like a week after. I think no one would have any problem with it. But it was like, I think it was like a few days after. So that's kind of what the problem was.
Oh, of course, but I think even now, as we look at the current situation as of the recording of the 8th of June, tensions are still pretty high. So even if he was to put this out now, I think it would still be very ill-timed.
Yeah, that's fair. That's very much fair.
Yeah. Well, so after that, there were responses from, I would say, from varying degrees. Some people calling it comedic relief on a dark subject matter. Other people saying that he was, self-serving his own, benefits, like selling his game.
Sure.
And then others saying that he was calling to incite violence and asking for him to be banned. Do y'all have any added thoughts to that? Any?
Nana, do you want to take that one first?
Sure. I think the incite violence things is a bit extreme, because I don't think the game is Duke Nukem. I don't think that represents any specific beliefs of anybody, because Duke Nukem is sort of like a very crazy game in itself.
It is.
But I think it's just a case of maybe you would have done it later, but within the timing, I think people were just gonna take different messages from it, which is why it would be like calls to incite violence. But with it being like, if people want to see it as comedic relief, it's like that's fine, because like, I don't know if this is gonna down the podcast or not, but it's like it has been like a really bad year, so it's like people need something some sort of escape. So, like they want to see it as comedic relief. I think that's fine.
I would actually have to agree with you there. I think it is, very ill-timed, very, very silly in that respect, but it doesn't take away his right to say it. He is obviously promoting the game, which, let's be honest, Duke Nukem 3D is filled with childish humour. And, just based on the fact that the LARD, is
Yes.
a very dumb joke as is anyway, but, this is the kind of humour that you're getting from someone like Randy Pitchford, which, well, I have mentioned it that he is an edgelord, and I absolutely 100% agree that he is that way inclined. And this, for want of a better word, this is outstanding marketing.
Yeah. And I'm going to make a confession here. Duke Nukem was one of the first games I've ever played in my life. So I was very young when I played it.
Wow.
And I played it several times because my brother had it on his computer and I would sneak and play. But I have to say, it never dawned on me because, the graphics were so terrible. But I love them, but it never dawned on me that their uniforms said LARD. Instead of LAPD. So here we are. What are we, 30 years later? And I'm just now getting the joke.
It's 24 years. Or is it? No, it's not.
20,
90, yeah, about 25 years, yeah.
25 years later, and I've just got the joke. So, although I probably was actually playing it more in like 99 than I was in 96. But
it still took you that long to get the joke, though.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel quite, totally tuned in. But, so after he was kind of, we'll say raked over the coals, at least on Twitter.
Or roasted, for sure.
Roasted. Oh, there's some good roasts in there. Which, I'm not going to read them out loud because we try to make sure that this is, E for everyone.
There's some serious edgy bants there, let's just say.
There are. So if you want some entertainment and you're a little bit on the edgelord side, go have a read because they're quite funny.
I'll be rereading them because I love them.
Yes. Yes. I am being very honest here and saying that I have giggled quite a bit. And you know what? I am glad because there's not a lot to giggle about right now. So... some of us need that. But after he was roasted, he released a statement where he says, "I'm an artist. I support free speech, but never violence. We must not rationalize brutality. I do not believe violence is a solution. I believe what the world needs is more love, more joy. I have dedicated my life to entertaining others. It hurts me to see others in pain." Do you think, before I go on to the next portion of this statement, do you think he was advocating violence then, or has he contradicted himself?
I can't help but laugh at "I'm an artist." Like the first thing that comes out of his mouth is "I'm an artist."
I know. He probably should have said, "I'm a magician." That also comes up later.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, he is an actual magician. I'm not kidding.
Well, his Twitter handle is Duval Magic.
Yes, and there's a reason for that. But, so, do you think he's contradicted himself, or do you think that, is he just being tone deaf, or is this or do you think this is heartfelt? Is this authentic? Do you think of that?
I think, and I've read a fair amount of Randy Pitchford statements over the years when he has had a hot take, let's say, and most of them are contradictory messes anyway. So
yes, I would agree with that.
He does tend to say one thing and then gets upset that people got offended by one thing. It's like, okay, you can't stop people from being offended, and you can't stop people from having an opinion on what they thought the context of this was. All you can do
Right.
is sort of explain your reasoning for it to hope that it gives context to the situation. So
Mm-hmm.
he's tried to do that by saying, I am an artist. Well, I don't know what kind of context that I am an artist means by posting up a picture
Right.
of a game that you once worked on as a programmer or a 3D artist.
Yeah.
But then, what, like, the free speech, yes, I completely get that. He has every right to say what he wants to. I don't think he's advocating for violence, but it does come back again to what Nana said. It is very ill-timed.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Uh, for me, it's like I don't know if we're gonna get into some other stuff that he's done, but
We are.
Yep.
but it kind of does feel a bit contradictory. Like
Yes.
there was one piece of news in particular that makes it feel a bit contradictory in terms of I support in everything. I don't think he was inciting violence, but given certain statements that he's made in the past, I don't think I can believe everything he says in that.
I agree. There are certain things that he does say that you sort of have to take with a pinch of salt, really.
Yes. I would definitely second that as
Un-
well.
Unless it's a McDonald's chip, and when it's an actual heap of salt. Like, there's
Oh gosh.
far... Like, you do need a lot of salt with this guy.
Yeah. Um, and actually, he added because the controversy wouldn't die because it's Randy Pitchford.
Yeah.
He released a second statement.
Just shut up and move on.
But
You
most
don't
of
need to
that's
keep
it.
calling attention to it.
But we'll see. Yes. Hold on to your answer there because that
Okay.
is going to go with this. So the second half of his statement, uh, he's talking about the post. The post. It wasn't about selling. I quickly deleted the tweets when I noticed it was being interpreted that way. I was tormented at starting in this industry in the wake of the Rodney King riots. Quick aside here for those who don't know, the Rodney King riots happened in LA in America in about 92, 93. It was early,
1992.
yeah, early part of the 90s. It was very influential in
Yeah.
American society at the time. So I was tormented at starting in this industry in wake of the Rodney King riots. You could feel it in our art, parentheses, pig cops. Injustice persists, frustration grows. And then he hashtag Black Lives Matter. So, do you feel that he even needed to add that statement? Has it benefited him or his image in this matter?
Anna, what do you feel?
I don't know. I feel like Pete was right in what he said. It's like you just need to like shut up and move on sometimes.
Well, I called
Because it's like
it called it dead on straight away, didn't I? Without even knowing what the statement was.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
like because it's just like you're Randy Pitchford. You're not the stuff that you said is not gonna go away in essence. So you need to just like shut up and move on because it's like I don't think that's one of his strong points.
Right.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
I have noticed that quite a lot with a lot of his statements in the past, that he sometimes doesn't know how to drop things when it needs to be dropped. He keeps calling attention onto certain things. I think we'll specifically mention one particular person in a bit more detail later, but the Wayne Calendar situation, where
Uh,
I think it was his lawyer or the lawyer for
yes.
Gearbox Software, but we'll go into that a bit later, I guess.
Right. Well, I'm actually about to head into all of those situations
Yeah.
because they're all tied together.
Mm-hmm.
Um, let's see. How do we start? Okay. So there was a sorry, excuse my words,
Yep.
former general counsel of the studio of Gearbox,
Mm-hmm.
who sued Randy Pitchford, who was CEO of Gearbox, who turned around and sued the lawyer.
Yeah.
the the suit itself, if you have time, and yes, Wade Calendars is his name, which Pete mentioned just a second ago. If you have time and are interested in crazy, insane lawsuits, I definitely advise reading up on it because there are some insane allegations.
To say the least.
To say the least. The least of which is that Randy Pitchford had a secret $12 million bonus from Take-Two Interactive.
Yep.
That's the least. It gets crazier from there. Because a spokesperson at the time said the allegations made by a disgruntled former employee are absurd, with no basis in reality or law. We look forward to addressing this meritless lawsuit in court and have no further comment at this time. Mm-hmm. Because Calendar sued 1 month after Gearbox sued him for fraud and breach of fiduciary duty.
Yep. This smells like I'm being sued, therefore I'm going to countersuit you so that we can all just drop this.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to read these statements because we do want to appear fair and balanced. And this is Calendar. This was Gearbox alleged that Calendar's the lawyer.
Yep.
Borrowed money from Gearbox for a home loan and tuition that he didn't pay back in full. Okay, that's fine. That's normal. That is what. I mean, it's weird about the home loan thing because they're not a lender, but
no,
not completely absurd.
No, it's not. And this Calendar was Randy's personal lawyer as well. So you would expect that the CEO of the company would try to make a friend of his look, in a good financial position, by giving him good education and a decent home to live in.
Right. Yeah. Although I do think the quote tuition is interesting that I wanted to read more about, but it wasn't really applicable to this situation. But the Gearbox statement says, quote, he, as in Calendar, abused the privilege of credit card access by charging unapproved, wholly personal expenses, including family vacations, gun club memberships, and firearm accessories, and trying to get six-pack abs.
Wow, he really was in Texas.
That
is the most Texan statement I have ever heard in my life.
And that is a legit statement. Yes. Go on.
So much like Texas.
Well, I definitely don't dispute that.
I use company expenses for firearms and firearms accessories.
I should have
only in America.
Yes. Yeah. But this is a legit statement released by Gearbox, and it ends with, and trying to get six-pack abs. But the suit is listed. You can read it for yourselves, which is interesting. So that was one of the absurd things. And then we go on to Calendar, then turned around and made some quite sensational accusations, saying that in 2014, he and Pitchford, well, I don't know I've never quite understood if they were there together, but Pitchford himself was at a restaurant in Dallas, Texas,
yep,
of which there are several restaurants, not Dallas's. Pitchford left a USB drive on the table.
Sorry, can I stop you there? Because I want to make mention of the actual restaurant that he was in.
Oh, right, okay.
It was a medieval times.
Yeah, a medieval times gimmick restaurant.
He was there for hunks of mutton and jousting.
I'm trying to be objective. I need to be. It's very hard to be objective when you're talking about Randy Pitchford. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Yes. And things only get more insane.
They do. And I'm going to let you guys take over here in just a second. Because some of this stuff, it just doesn't, it's wild, guys. Yep, strap in for a wild ride. So in 2014, he was at a restaurant, which I now know is Medieval Times, which I always wanted to go to and never got to.
Yeah, me too. Ever since I saw it on the Cable Guy.
Yes. It's a very expensive restaurant, but they do serve all kinds of like meat and like meat on the bone that you just eat off, and like tankards of like beer and soda. But anyway, so he left a USB drive containing sensitive corporate documents for Gearbox and his partners, which is like everybody in the industry. And the lawsuit says, and I'm quoting again, direct quote, upon information and belief, Randy Pitchford's USB drive also contained Randy Pitchford's personal collection of underage pornography.
The underage stuff is somewhat disputed, of course.
It's disputed quite a bit.
Yeah.
So it gets so crazy.
I'm sorry, but I have.
I know, because I'm trying to keep this above board. We want this to be access, and that's another thing, guys. We want to make sure this is access to everyone. So I'm not going to read Pitchford's quote.
Oh, I am. Oh, I am, because I love it. I think it is hilarious.
Okay. I'm gonna let Pete read it in full, because I'm gonna be honest, I'm not comfortable reading it. Now, not reading it like in my voice, but reading it on screen, I am laughing quite a bit, and I probably shouldn't be, but I'm gonna be honest with the listeners of our show. I'm laughing. I can't help it. Okay.
This is insane. Listen to the quote.
Oh,
yes.
God, I need to find where the quote is, to be fair, but I think the vast majority... Yeah, you post it, and then I'll read it.
Okay, because Gearbox, after he released this statement, Gearbox then released a new statement trying to fix things. God.
Oh, God.
Okay, so this statement in full.
Oh gosh.
There will be.
Let's give a what is it? Content warning. If you're uncomfortable with mentions of sexual type themes. Again, we're not going to get explicit here, because that's just not what we do. But if you're uncomfortable with sexual themes, I would skip ahead about 2 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there is an F-bomb in here that I will specifically not mention.
Yes.
So
okay.
The statement reads, "It's a woman who is masturbating, and when she has some experience that appears as if she's having an orgasm, a huge amount of fluid comes out of her vagina. This is not a sex worker, she is an effing magician." This is ludicrous.
Yes, it is. It really is.
This is exactly the way I thought an expose of Randy Pitchford would go. It's just,
yep.
We're trying to elevate it. You can't with this guy. You can't.
No, because most of his humour is just dumb, childish humour.
It is. So do you want to read the second half of it, just so we can continue on?
Yeah, so I was just saying... So,
where he starts with some kid.
Yeah. Some kid, an employee of Medieval Times. So how did you not know it was a Medieval Times when it's in the statement?
Didn't click.
Okay.
I just... Whoop.
Fine. Okay. So some kid, an employee of the Medieval Times, discovered this memory stick, took it home, and assessed it because it was before we were password protecting, and discovered secrets of my company and future games in development, which turned out to be Borderlands 3. Mm-hmm. That wasn't in the statement. And also discovered the pornography. And it was barely legal porn. This girl's handle was only 18.
Oh, gosh. So, as you can imagine, this wasn't great.
No, it wasn't.
To put it lightly.
At all. And now that we are in, I mean, this was... I think this came out in 2018, the whole thing, even though it happened in 2014, I think. But now, we're pretty thick in the whole Me Too movement and such things, which, again, a needed, necessary thing. We don't ever want to belittle that. But in the wake of such things, before I continue on with the Gearbox's fix-it mistake. Fix his mistake. Do you think? Oh God, how do I say this? I don't want to lead. I want honest, authentic responses. What are your thoughts on this? The CEO of a company being sued for possible underage pornography. Alleged, because I don't think it was ever proven.
No. Nana, do you want to take this one first?
Okay, yeah, sure. I'm gonna actually borrow a quote that I heard from another podcast when I heard this going on. Now generally this would not be a big story because when you're suing someone, you make all sorts of things up, and you don't sling pedophile, but
right,
it happens. But after I heard this, it's like, how and why is what I'm wondering. It's like. Apparently, also he lost the USB stick as well, but it's like not just from the quote. It's insane, but like there's a lot of stuff in there that was skimmed over, which is kind of concerning, given that. I don't know if you're going to get into the rest of the stuff, but he is allegedly known to be a pathological liar.
Yep.
But but it's a case of it's not a good look when someone that is known to not be very trustworthy does something like this for me.
Right.
Yeah, I would agree. And also one of the other things that was in the lawsuit was that apparently he assaulted someone as well. Which, is not a good look considering this has happened a couple of times as well. He has been alleged to have assaulted various people over the years, including the Claptrap voice actor.
That was
we'll get to that.
That's all.
But I brought it up mainly because there seems to be a pattern of, let's not put it lightly, stupidity on his part.
Yes.
And stupidity, negligence, and just I'm completely dumbfounded that. And I'm going to borrow a quote from a Jim Sterling video here, even though I'm not the biggest fan of his. He's a CEO of a company. He's got enough money to buy 2 USB sticks, one specifically dedicated only to porn. So why has he got his porn on company record, on the same file as a company records? Not only that, but why is he leaving company records in a medieval times to do with games that have not been announced and nobody has any clue they're even being made? It's insane.
Do you think, before I continue on with Gearbox's statement, do you think that adding that there was secrets of my company and future games in development on the USB stick, do you think that was added to lessen the blow of there being porn on it? Or do you think Pitchford does not care?
I don't think he cares.
Yeah, I don't think he cares either.
He gives off this impression to me of someone who just says a load of stuff and just goes, whatever, I don't care. I'll just say it and see if they buy it.
Okay, well, we're going to get into the second half of this lawsuit and then many more. So, guys, I'm not kidding, audience. If you're out there, we are only at the tip of the iceberg.
Strap in.
So,
actually, before we move on, can I just mention another insane thing? I don't know if you guys saw the tweet after he said this, but it's like he explained, he tried to elaborate on a tweet afterwards, after all this came out, and then his lawyer, and then I don't know if it was Wayne Calendar, but his lawyer told him to take down the tweet because, like, what are you doing? What are you saying?
Well, in response to that, Gearbox, several hours after Randy said his insanity things, said Gearbox will be filing a grievance with the State Bar of Texas against our former General Counsel Wade for disciplinary proceedings for filing a lawsuit that includes accusations that he knows to be untrue. The lawyer's rules of professional conduct expressly prohibit the filing of documents that are knowingly false. The tell is within Wade's claim itself. His use of hedged lawyer language and clever application of quotation marks betray that he knows that the impression he is trying to create is based in lies. We imagine that he used the quotation marks and lawyer language in hopes that will give him some angles of defense when we inevitably take action against him for false statements. Wade is engaged in a shakedown, and he's clearly using deceit and lies to try to cause damage by promoting a narrative he knows is false. Now, the interesting thing about this statement, at least to me, and of course I want to hear you guys' views, is these sorts of lawsuits are fought in courts, sometimes through arbitration, usually not in front of a jury. It's usually just a judge trial.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on what the amount was, whether it was small claims or large claims court. Usually it's a civil court. So a civil trial is very, very different from a criminal trial.
Yeah.
So this releasing of this statement is strange because it's clearly done to influence someone, but it isn't the type of statement that would make it to the judge's ears. So, in your opinion, do you think this is possibly written by Randy himself, by the way it sounds, but to ease shareholders' fears as CEO?
I mean, I wouldn't disagree with that statement at all. What it sounds like is that he's got a ghostwriter, literally pretty much looking at everything that he has said and dictated but not read. Basically, he's saying what he wants to say, but then the guy is literally erasing certain parts of it and inserting legal terminology in there to, or as they call it in the suit, lawyer language, and use of quotation marks.
It's a very strange position to take for a company releasing an official statement. It's an odd one.
I mean, they pretty much just cemented that Wade Callender was a lawyer and he knew what to do in his job.
Yeah, that's the weird thing, because it's like listening to that statement, even as it was spoken, is very strange for a company to put out.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know if he does have a ghostwriter or not. I wouldn't be surprised if he does, because if you're Randy Pitchford and you say something and saying you need to know when to track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That may be an edited version, and the original was like insane. I mean,
I wouldn't be surprised if he does have a ghostwriter, but I just say the statement is a little bit weird to even hear from me, because like you're saying he's a good lawyer in essence.
Right?
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, they just reaffirmed, Callender's stance of, I'm an alright lawyer, and I pretty much got unjustly removed from this company because I had a disagreement with the CEO. Great.
Oh gosh. Well, after that, in the suit as well, it does. He, as in Callender, does accuse Randy, which is kind of a fitting name now that I think about it. Adult men have reportedly exposed themselves to minors to the amusement of Randy Pitchford. Now, that's not been elaborated on. Yeah. And then Gearbox sent a statement to Kotaku, which is something we've referred to many times on this show, another game news website.
Yes.
We're not the biggest fans, but to be fair, they got most of the Gearbox statements, so
That's
more
fair.
power to him for that. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so hours after Kotaku posted an article alleging the insanity, Gearbox denied that there were parties, saying that Pitchford and his wife have a regular variety show that's recorded and that nothing of the sort occurred there. This is a direct quote from a Gearbox spokesperson. This is terminology that the Pitchfords have never used, referring to the term peacock parties, which the lawsuit calls the names of the parties, and was made up by Wade in a further attempt to paint a sensational picture that is demonstrably false. This variety show has featured some of the most respected and renowned performers in the world and has been attended by prominent members of the local community and larger media. Which, okay, guys, listeners, the variety show is held at a place called Peacock Theater. So it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibilities that these parties are called peacock parties.
No, that doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah. But I don't want to lead, but I am just going to say this, and I want to know your thoughts and feelings on this. When the spokesperson said, and it does not name the spokesperson, so it could be Randy himself. We have no idea. It's featured some of the most respected and renowned performers in the world, and it's been attended by prominent members of the local community and larger media. Do you think that is opening the door, I'm going to say it, to blackmail?
Yes, I do think it kind of does open the door to blackmail a little bit there, because it's like you're saying that you're opening it to prominent performers, but it's like if you're paying the money to expose themselves to minors, it's kind of like. And the weird thing was that was mostly overlooked when the lawsuit came out, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like it seems very suspect, again, considering like all the other stuff that he's done, in my opinion.
When you take it in, when you see it in context. Yes.
Agreed. I would have to say that I would agree. They completely brushed over this fact, because if this is true, then he's basically a registered sex offender then. Or likes to pay, unregistered, sorry, but he likes to pay people to expose themselves to minors. So he's encouraging pedophilia, basically. Which is also very, very wrong in many, many respects, of course.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, let's go on the record for saying that Reviews is against child pornography.
I mean, that kind of goes without saying, really, but it was just...
But I want to be sure.
Of course, it's the implication of that, though. It's like...
Yeah.
Like, he is actively encouraging potential sex predators to abuse children. And... No, that doesn't sit right with me. If anything, that part of the lawsuit should have been taken out and brought up in criminal court.
Yeah.
Valid point. Ooh, valid point. Because as far as I know, there is no criminal case pending against Randy Pitchford.
No, and that's an actual offence that carries a stiff prison sentence.
The thing was, I think I don't know if you're gonna mention this in a minute or not. The lawsuit ended, and it was just like they signed an NDA on both. So
right.
No one can know what happened in a sense, and it was settled out of court. So
right,
kind of like he didn't charge for it.
I think it's very. Oh, I'm sorry, Pete.
I was going to say that's exactly what I said earlier. Anyway, I reckon that there was a suit and then a counter suit, and by calendar. To then basically go, okay, we're not going to settle this in any reputable way. Let's settle this out of court, sign a gag order, and let's be done with it.
Yeah. I think a telling thing, again, I don't mean to lead. I think it's very interesting that Pitchford never filed a libel suit because he could have on that one.
Well, yeah, this would be defamation, wouldn't it, if it was very
Exactly.
untrue?
Yeah, even as a famous person, because it's a criminal, not offense, but like because it's a criminal accusation.
Yeah.
I believe he could have sued quite well. I know he could. He could have sued for defamation, and he didn't.
Yeah, I actually don't think it has anything to do with their the public figure or the famous person. I think anyone can do it, regardless of your status in the world.
Yeah, no, you can. Yeah, anyone can file a suit. Absolutely. It's just whether you'll, it'll go to court or not.
Yeah.
But this would fall under defamation, and he didn't pursue that. And I'm sorry, but if someone wrongly accused me of, something as bad as child pornography or anything, oof, I can feel my hackles being raised. I'd be in court so fast going, oh, no.
Yeah. I think that was probably part of the gag order itself, though, is the fact that they probably had to drop that side of it.
Yeah.
Because I would imagine the gag order itself has the stipulations that everything covered in the lawsuit and the countersuit would not be brought up in the public light a day again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll move on to... I doubt we're going to get all of the controversies, but I want to hit the main ones.
Yeah.
So, again, talking about Gearbox. So, okay. After that, a lot of people, they're losing patience with Randy Pitchford.
Yeah.
And so, Claptrap, who is a character in Borderlands, probably for me the best character, because again, I've mentioned this before on previous episodes that there's not a lot of lore at the time for Borderlands because it was a rushed game thrown out there just to make money.
Yeah.
So the voice actor for Claptrap, one of the characters, is David Eddings, who is a Gearbox executive. So that kind of tells you just how internal this game was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He claimed he would not be returning, and I remember reading this and being very disappointed because again, Claptrap's the best. But he would not be returning for Borderlands 3 because Gearbox refused to pay him for the role. So that in of itself, not a terrible thing to allege. Pitchford pitched a fit. He went on a Twitter rant and called Eddings bitter and disgruntled. So that's when it was alleged again that Pitchford had secretly taken quite a hefty amount of money that was intended for the Gearbox employees, and then made the claim that we will now get into, that Pitchford assaulted him when they worked together.
Yeah. Apparently it was about $12 million that he embezzled into a personal account that were intended to be bonuses for Borderlands 3.
Yeah.
And one of the excuses given apparently was this game did not sell enough. Like it sold twice as much as Borderlands 2 and somehow didn't sell enough.
That's the typical corporate speak, and EA do it quite a lot where it didn't meet sales expectations.
Yeah.
Yeah, which, God, we're building a picture here that I can't help but say it's really, I know we're kind of early into it, but he is appearing to be quite an unstable and unsavory character.
Yes.
To say the least.
I'm going to quote Eddings, but I'm going to leave the F word out. So Eddings alleged that he was fired because, or when he was fired, Randy, quote, shoved the F out of me while I'm on the balls of my feet trying to whisper. He knocked me back 4 steps. I believe I caught him in a deception. It was corroborated by a couple of witnesses, Gearbox co-founder Landon Montgomery, who says David leaned up to whisper something to Randy, and out of the blue, Randy shoves him hard. Apparently, there's screenshots of Snapchat messages. It dissolves into a kind of mudslinging, overdramatic fiasco. So that was the next lawsuit. I'm trying to see if it was an actual lawsuit or if it was just threatened. Actually, I think it was just threatened. I could never find the actual court documents like I could on the other one.
I couldn't either, so I don't think this got as far as an actual suit.
They must have settled. They must have. So Gearbox, I will read their statement in the nature of fair and balanced. Gearbox takes any and all claims of this nature very seriously. And we will abstain from commenting on the allegations by David Eddings because it is a personal matter. We think it's a shame that the 400 plus employees here who have poured the love and passion into Borderlands 3 are having their work be diluted by personal allegations. I will say that the tenor of that statement contrasts quite a bit to the last statement I read. I have a feeling that might have been released by someone a little more stable. But so do you think he did what he's accused of? I'm just going to cut straight to it. That's just the simple black and white.
I need to think on this one for a second.
Okay,
I'll go then. I wouldn't be surprised if he did, and honestly, yeah, I do think that he did in some aspects. Maybe it was over exaggerated, but I do think that yeah, he did it because like he's shown multiple times and that he's done it. And if there's a history of this thing happening, I think yeah, he probably did it. Like because there's solid evidence, in my opinion, of like him doing it before, and we've shown like. If you haven't got the feeling of this podcast, we've shown that he's not very mentally stable.
Right.
So yeah, I do think that he did it in essence there.
Before we get to the last, when I say last controversy, I strictly mean for this episode. It is not the last controversy of Randy Pitchford.
No, it's not.
But I want to ask your opinion now, and then I'm going to ask your opinion after we explore this. But does it appear to you that Randy Pitchford is untouchable? And if yes, why do you think that is? And if no, do you think it's legit to file like assault charges against him and child pornography charges, et cetera, et cetera?
I don't think... it's a hard one to say because, yeah, he's got a history of doing this before. I mean, obviously, we mentioned Wade Callender stating that he had made assault allegations. So David Edding making assault allegations makes sense, I do feel like he thinks he's untouchable completely.
Very interesting.
Being a CEO of a major company that is funded by one of the biggest publishers of all time in Take-Two, they aren't going to drop Gearbox in any way, shape, nor form unless he was to be dethroned as the CEO. but I don't see that happening, and I'll state my reasons, because I have a reason behind it, but I will state that at the very end.
Okay. Um, Nana, do you have any thoughts on if he's untouchable or just really
I
lucky?
I would say it's a mix of both, really,
Hmm.
because it's a case of like he's the CEO of this business. I know shareholders can say that they want him out, otherwise they're going to remove contractors in the business. But in essence, if you're the head, you tend it's been shown in history. If you're the head of something, you tend to get away with a lot of things that people don't.
Yes.
Yeah,
Um,
agreed.
Yeah.
but it's kind of like, yeah, I do think that, everything that he's gone through, yeah, he does feel like he's a bit untouchable now, in essence. But yeah, I would also say he's very lucky because, again, once you're at the top of something, you have a tendency to get away with like either past crimes or crimes that you're doing.
Hmm. Yeah, I have to agree with you on that one. Okay, so the controversy for this. And of course, I got these details from Pete's favorite person in the world,
Is
Jason
it?
Schreier.
Oh, good old Press X
Uh,
Jason.
yeah, that's
Yeah. But to be fair, he did a lot he must have a great relationship with Gearbox. He got a lot of info
Can
for
I
Gearbox.
preface this by stating,
Hmm.
actually on the record, for
Hmm.
once, that when Jason Schreier does actual journalism,
Yeah,
he is
yeah,
fantastic at it.
yeah,
But when
yeah,
he is sitting
yeah,
on his moral high horse, virtue signalling, he is an
yeah.
absolute twat.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree with you totally there.
Yeah. And I do as well. I think it's a stance we've kind of taken on this show several times. He's a talented journalist, but he gets his own self in his own way.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah,
He likes to toot his own horn,
yeah, or
metaphorically.
yeah, yes. Oh gosh, I hope it's not on a USB stick somewhere.
Oh my god.
That was
It's
edgy.
this
That's some edgy
episode.
pants there.
It's this episode. It just brings out the Randy Pitchford in all of us. So the next controversy that we'll go on to is the wonderful, well-renowned, so well done game, Aliens: Colonial Marines.
Hey, I love this.
And if you don't know anything about Aliens: Colonial Marines, that was the most sarcastic I could ever be because that is a flaming piece of hot garbage.
Yeah, the biggest dumpster fire in one of the gaming industry, I believe.
Oh gosh, if you've never played it, there are all kinds of bootleg copies, so you can play it.
Look, don't pay for the game.
Don't,
Just
don't
go and
pay
torrent
for,
it,
exactly.
honestly. We would never
I'm not,
usually promote sailing the high seas here, but don't give
yeah.
Gearbox money for this
Don't
game.
give these people money. No. Yeah, so God, this is a tough one. If I miss details, you guys jump in and
Sure.
kind of fill them in because it's very there's just a lot to it.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, it was a class action lawsuit which was filed against Sega and Gearbox.
Yep.
For Colonial Marines because, well, basically false advertising. I remember when this happened thinking that was a strange turn to take, but it ended up being a protracted lawsuit. And, oh god, yeah, so when it was released, they released a demo. The demo was pretty good.
It was fine.
Yeah, back then this was before what's the Alien game? The Isolation. This was before Isolation dropped. Yeah. So this was like, all right, sweet. We're getting a new Alien game, and the Alien franchise is, as far as games and movies, is God, that's a classic. So everybody was excited. The demo came out. It was great for a demo. But then the game came out. And it looked and played nothing like the demo. And then from that, remember, correct me if I'm wrong, they outsourced, like Gearbox built the demo and then outsourced the game development to a different studio, I believe.
Yeah, from what I heard about it.
Basically, what Concept did with Mighty Number 9 and some of that stuff.
And then, God,
this is so multi-layered of how bad it really was.
It's oh God. Okay, so I'm going to quote Jason Schreier's article because I'm going to be honest, it makes the most sense of things.
And another good article by Schreier, at least, to be honest.
Yeah, and also he also has the actual court documents in the article, so I do advise having a read of this if you're interested. Okay, so I'm just going to read this statement. The plaintiffs behind the class action lawsuit reached a settlement with Sega earlier this summer, but Gearbox pulled out, asking to be dropped from the suit and arguing that Sega was the main party responsible for publishing and marketing the game, which is a very strange move. I'll say that as my editorial aside. Yeah. Quote, Gearbox never belonged in this lawsuit. Gearbox is a video game software developer. It was neither the publisher nor seller of the video game at issue. For more than a year, Gearbox has quietly abided the plaintiff's claim so that Sega, the game's publisher and party responsible for the game's marketing and sale, could assume the defense of the lawsuit. Gearbox has honored its publisher's request in spite of plaintiffs' highly publicized and highly misplaced claims against Gearbox. At this point, however, Gearbox is obligated to pursue its rightful departure from the case. Okay, I'm just gonna say it. Do you feel that was a runaway move on their part?
What that smells like to me is to put it as aptly as possible, describing this in an audio format, but it's that dog meme with flames all around him saying this is fine.
Yes.
Basically, I can't understand where this lawsuit, why they got taken out of this lawsuit, because although Sega were marketing the game, there would be no game without Gearbox.
Right.
So they are very much culpable in this. Sega probably aren't as culpable in this one as Gearbox are, because they handed development over to Gearbox, they signed a contract with them, and Gearbox haven't fulfilled their end of the bargain. They have made a buggy, ridiculous, broken-ass mess that the Xenomorph only misacts like it does because of a misspelling on Tether.
Yes,
that's it. Right. That's all it took was a misspelling and ruined this entire game.
Well,
barring certain other things as well, but that was their main selling point. Was this Xenomorph had a mind of its own? It would do things that it would never do before. It would constantly follow you around and give you this sense of dread, much like Isolation did.
Isolation did successfully.
But they dropped the ball by spelling tether completely wrong. Yeah. So this is just the utter mismanagement and utter ludicrous situation that was going on at Gearbox Software at the time, because it is very much alleged that they were embezzling the funds that were given to them by both the license holder of Fox and Sega into Borderlands 2's development.
That's right.
Allegedly.
Allegedly what happened. And by all appearances, as a casual outside observer, that's exactly what happened.
Well, we can't say that for sure. That's why I had to preface it by saying allegedly, because none of this has been proven, but look at how Borderlands 2 turned out compared to how Colonial Marines turned out. It is a night and day difference. One looks like it had funds put into it, and one did not. One looked like it had a very good staff working on it, and one of them looked like they had a couple of temp workers working out of a storage unit.
Oh, yeah. I also want to encourage the listener, if you've never seen clips of Colonial Marines, definitely find them on YouTube, because there's several instances where the xenomorph is just
Yeah,
standing.
the best one is the room where all the face hugger eggs are, and it's literally just you turns around a corner and it's just standing there, and it makes you jump, but it just doesn't move at all.
No, you can walk up to them and there's just nothing. There's just not. It's a terrible game. It's
You
a terrible game.
you can shoot it,
Um,
you can you can butt smack it, you can do anything to it, and it
yeah,
will
you can,
not react in any way.
and I don't know if the audience might not get the entire gist of that, in case you're not familiar with the Alien franchise, but the xenomorph is the big baddie.
Yes.
And if the xenomorph can't kill you or hurt you or scare you in any way, there's no game. There's no game.
They haven't screwed up a xenomorph this bad since Alien 3, Alien
Oh gosh.
Resurrection, Prometheus, okay, basically Alien sucks, let's just say it, to be honest. Like, Alien and Aliens are amazing, but the rest of the property is terrible.
I do find some charm in Resurrection, but
That's because of Sigourney Weaver, and that's all.
yeah, exactly. Well, Ron Perlman, he's pretty cool. But yeah, the first two are the best. And Alien Isolation is a fabulous game.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so to continue on this insanity, of course the emails were released about the discussion. But the best part, I say best, again, I'm really not trying to color this. I'm trying to keep it just point blank. It was said of Randy Pitchford by Sega brand manager, and I think that's very important, because, as the publisher, the brand manager is extremely, that's your marketer. That's the head of your marketing team. You know? I mean, it's not really, but it is. He said in an email that Randy is doing whatever the F he likes. Apparently, he's done it, quote, I'm going to say, paraphrase, apparently he's done it before, against all plans and despite the fact that they asked him not to. So that was shown to, to say that Sega was trying to manage this fiasco. Was trying to market it, but Randy was fighting the whole way.
Okay.
Gearbox never responded to, or never publicly responded to the released emails.
That's a first.
But, yeah, that was very. I did find that odd. So, yeah, let me get your thoughts and feelings on that. For someone who is so usually vocal, I mean, you can see, well, Gearbox is vocal, but Randy specifically, that kind of just went, we'll let it go under the rug. So, what do you think on that?
You take it away, Nana.
Yeah, I think it's kind of just like the whole situation just kind of feels like a big case of company mismanagement and also just not communicating at all what was going on. Because, like, one, you're outsourcing the demo, you're making it yourself, but you're outsourcing the demo. But it's a case of, I do think it's more Gearbox's fault in that case that they didn't say they were going to do that. Because it's a case of, a company doesn't know, like, if you're taking game development from one company to another, the second company is not going to inherently know how to make your systems work for them and how to exactly replicate those systems. And it's also a case of they're not responding to the emails, and it's all just sort of, for me, just reeks of terrible mismanagement, non-communication, and sort of just them running away from the lawsuit as well is kind of just trying to point yourself as blameless in the situation, and I don't think they are.
Well, do you guys feel that Sega bears any responsibility in this?
Did Sega have anything to do with the development, or were they just the publisher on this
They were
case?
simply the publisher, yeah, publisher marketing team, yeah.
Then no, I would not say the publisher has anything to do with this because like I know there's like communications between like the
Mhm.
developer and the publisher, but if it's I wouldn't point it on the publisher because you wouldn't know exactly what's going on internally because like
Mhm.
if the head of your studio tells you, oh, everything is fine, we're working on the game, like they're showing you test footage and stuff, and like everything is fine, then it's a problem then because
Right.
you're not exactly seeing what's going on.
Sure. I think that had Gearbox been an affiliate of Sega and the fact that they were basically co-running them pretty much like what Take-Two are, then yes, they would be
Mhm.
liable. But because they are outsourcing all of the development to Gearbox and they're just
Mhm.
covering the publishing costs and all that sort of thing, then I don't feel like Sega are very much to blame in this part. They haven't developed the game. They haven't coded anything, and if they signed an agreement with Gearbox which didn't include them outsourcing, then I don't know what they're doing because there are a lot of companies out there, and to preface this with a couple of examples,
Mhm.
Capcom did it with Street Fighter V, where they outsourced it to
Yes.
a Korean company
Right.
for some of the graphics and the music. And the most notable one is Nintendo and Sora Inc. They
Mhm.
outsourced quite a lot of the development of Smash Bros. 4 and Ultimate to Bandai
Mhm.
Namco. But
That's right.
the big difference in those ones is communication. Communication
Mhm.
clearly wasn't there between Sega and Gearbox, and part of me feels like this might have been Randy's problem as CEO of
Mhm.
being incredibly mismanaged, like Nana said, that he probably shut the door to any Sega executives who wanted to come and look at the game at any point, and he probably tried to distract them as much as possible with this flashy demo that kept them happy whilst they were tinkering away on Borderlands 2 without them really knowing about it.
Um, well, I'm going to take a different point of view and see what your thoughts are on that,
Sure.
which is, um, do you feel that because Randy Pitchford is such a polarizing character and just is a character, is he drawing more, or is he drawing too much of the blame? Is too much of the blame falling on him as an individual who is, while CEO, it's still Gearbox is still a pretty hefty company. So do you think that, in a trying to say this is a straight face, a roundabout way, Randy himself has been, you know, perhaps a victim of his own doing? Or do you think it's completely warranted?
I think most of this, if I'm honest, is completely
Mm-hmm.
warranted, and in the vast majority of instances, a company head, a CEO, should take the blame for the majority of the misfailings of the rest of the team because the instruction filters down from the very top, and if the instruction is bad, then what are the employees going to get out of that? They're not going to get much good, are they? They're not.
Right.
They're not it sounds like Gearbox can be either incredible at times or
Mm-hmm.
incredibly mismanaged. It's so weird that
Yeah.
they flip flop quite frequently because you look at Borderlands and it's a very
Mm-hmm.
well made game. But then you look at Colonial Marines a couple of years later and the whole thing is incredibly mismanaged and incredibly diabolical
Mm-hmm.
to the point where, yes, if Randy wants to be the most outspoken person in the entire company, he's got to expect some of the heat, if not all of it.
Yeah, that's the thing. As a leader, you have to be prepared to like take some
Mm-hmm.
heat of like things going wrong. You have to be because a lot of people are going to look at you as the driving force, and you're going to have a lot of blame to take. I don't think that he is totally blameless for what he did on that game, because, like, again, you're the leader, you're the one that's managing a lot of the you're managing everything. You're managing a lot of the communications as well, like to Sega. So it's a case of, I don't think he was a victim of his own doing. I think it's a case of, like, you need to be prepared to take the blame, or take the fall as the leader.
Right. Yeah, I will throw my own couple of cents in there, and I think he just did it to himself. I'm just being honest here. So before we kind of come to our closing thoughts, do either of you want to throw out some random Randy Pitchford craziness that you've discovered over the last couple of weeks?
Try saying that quickly a few times. Random Randy.
Random Randy.
One of the things that I saw on the IGN podcast that he did, which, like I said, was a couple of years ago, was he had a massive disagreement with Jim Sterling for many years. It's still ongoing at the moment as well, because Jim Sterling gave Colonial Marines a 2 out of 10 and basically called him a snake oil merchant salesman. To which Randy Pitchford on the podcast literally, in air quotes, forgot his name. And basically was going, that English guy, he's quite large and he's always angry. It was bloody hilarious.
Oh gosh. Oh dear. Oh, Nana, did you come across any?
I can't think of anything besides maybe the badass sunglasses.
Yeah, that was a quote that has come up a few times. So I do encourage our listeners, if you want some rabbit hole reading where you just disappear for a few hours, or watching even videos on YouTube, Randy Pitchford is the one to go explore. But I would like to get both of your thoughts on the future of Randy Pitchford. Do you think, if he is untouchable, do you think he will remain untouchable? And do you think Gearbox is going to make it?
I'll let the guest handle this one first.
Sure.
All right. I don't know. I feel like there's going to be some changes at Gearbox, like, not in the immediate future, but it's kind of a case of, like, a lot of people are even saying, if you have dirt on Randy Pitchford and you're hiding it for any reason, it's like, you need to say something fast. So I think it's a case of, there's going to be changes at Gearbox for sure. It's just a matter of more or less when. After that, though, I do think, like, they need to sort of get better at communication, get better at, earning a bond with their fans. Like, Borderlands, like, Randy didn't want to change up Borderlands, but they managed to stick with what they were doing. And I feel like if they are able to, like, communicate with their fans and know their audience a lot better, I feel like they're going to succeed. Not, then they're in trouble.
Right. What about you, Pete?
I'm going to take the different approach on this one, and they're going to take an opposite stance in the fact that I don't feel like this is ever going to change. I think Randy helped co-create Gearbox. He got it to where it was. He helped to forge an incredible legacy that they have already made, whether that be good or bad. They do say that there is no such thing as bad publicity. And all of this is publicity towards Gearbox that clearly Take-Two are starting to really enjoy, because they haven't dropped him. And Take-Two notoriously do tend to drop quite a lot of publishers, which is very, very unusual. Because, and I did mention I was going to leave something aside until the very end, which I'm going to drop now. He's a scumbag. He is an absolutely deplorable idiot. However, he is the gaming industry's greatest marketer.
Yeah.
He courts controversy, it gets people talking, and people still buy his games. He might be a snake oil salesman, as Jim Sterling put it, but he's damn good at his job for it.
Do you think it's a case of failing upwards?
No, I think he makes everyone else fail downwards.
Oh, wow.
I would say in that case, yeah, it may just be a case of him like failing upwards. But it's like I feel like with things changing, like I feel like I feel it's gonna get to a point where he's gonna have to either step down or the shareholders are gonna kick him off eventually. I'm not gonna say like in like the short term or even medium term, but eventually I think it'll change.
I
Right.
I'll disagree with you there because, like I said, I don't think that's going to change. I think so long as they're still making money and people are still buying their games, then I don't see any reason for Gearbox to remove him as the CEO. And the only reason that we'll ever see any change from him is when he decides to retire.
That's fair,
Do you think, though, if he retires and he's no longer CEO, so he's no longer influencing shareholders, or his actions no longer influence, the market, will he just feel like it's a free for all at that point?
I could see him writing a book actually afterwards.
Oh gosh, I am going to admit right now, I would read it. I would read the
Me
heck out of
too.
it.
I
yeah. I
would.
would probably.
I would buy it day one. I would read it and probably even read chapters on this podcast because it would be hilarious.
Yeah, well, we should probably reach out to him and say, look.
Actually,
Uh-huh.
for the sake of journalistic integrity,
Yes, which
We-
is very important on this show.
we tried.
Yes.
So I will
did.
read what I put on Twitter to him when we discussed the prospect of this episode. Hey Randy, we are a UK-based gaming podcast. We are in the process of putting together an episode discussing your career in the gaming industry. Would you be able to give us a follow and a DM so we can get a statement from you? Thank you. No response.
No response.
Which is fine,
So,
but we
yeah.
at least tried, but he declined to
We
comment.
did try. Yes. But we did want to put it out there that we did do that. So we did do our, full vetting and all that stuff.
Yes.
But, okay, so I'm going to reread his statement that I read at the beginning of the show and see what your thoughts are on this statement now that we've discussed him.
Okay.
And then we'll close out the show. So, to reread this statement, he is quoted as saying, I am an artist. I support free speech, but never violence. We must not rationalize brutality. I do not believe violence is a solution. I believe what the world needs is more love, more joy. I have dedicated my life to entertaining others. It hurts me to see others in pain. Have your thoughts changed? Do you think that's authentic still?
Shall we ask Wade Callender and Paul Heading about the I don't like violence? I don't encourage violence at all.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's
So,
basically.
yeah, I think that's an interesting point of view he's taken.
Yeah. I'm going to go back to the statement of I am an artist. Right?
Yeah, he's
And as funny as it is, I'm actually going to raise a point to you that might be interesting.
okay.
Is this statement not an art form in its own right in the art of bull crap?
Yeah.
Pure meta right there. You know what? If anything, we can definitely agree that Randy Pitchford is a BS artist of the highest caliber.
But can we agree to disagree that he is good for the, in air quotes, good for the gaming industry?
Because I don't think he's good for the gaming industry. Not in it. Go for it, yeah.
Yeah, I'm mixed on that part because like you do see him like he's made a lot of great games, but
Yeah.
everything else around him is like either scumbag or very questionable.
Yeah, I would agree. But how many people in their career can say that they've worked on some of the biggest franchises of all time? Duke Nukem, Half-Life, Borderlands. He's worked
Yeah.
with Telltale
Wait,
on
oh yeah.
Tales from the
So
Borderlands.
I have some craziness. I have one more bit of craziness now.
Go on.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know if we brought this up yet or not, but Gearbox handled some stuff for the Half-Life expansions, but
Yeah.
I don't know what interview this was, but he talked about him uh with Gabe Newell. He won the name Gearbox from Gabe Newell, and then Gabe Newell said Gabe Newell is, I think, the owner of Steam or the CEO.
He's the CEO of
He's
Valve.
Oh,
yeah.
Valve, yeah. But Gabe Newell even said, like, I don't know him. I did not know this person. It's like it's
Oh,
Whoa.
yeah.
that's the most Randy thing ever.
He worked on the expansions to my most famous game, but I don't know who he is.
It's like he just discredited that story in essence.
Ah, wow. Gave him a taste of his own medicine there.
Yep.
Well, that about wraps it up for us for our roundtable light. It wasn't a heavy subject, but it was an interesting one. Um, Randy Pitchford remains a very entertaining character. Again, polarizing, and maybe as he ages and the game community, continues to move forward in progress and all that, he may become more of a relic of the past, but he's still there, he's still alive and kicking, and he's still posting controversial stuff. So you can go watch it for yourself. I do encourage that. But as always, we're very, very pleased that you stopped by and gave us a listen. Again, I've been your host, Kylie, or your moderator for this time, Kylie Wild, and then my illustrious co-host, Pete Beckett. Oh, yeah. Oh, crap. I did it out of order. I'm sorry.
Unbelievable.
I was gonna. Yeah,
No,
okay.
I know what you're doing. You're
All
trying
right.
something new, and it's... Yeah, fine.
Yep.
Keep going.
Yeah, we have these discussions during the week.
Yeah.
But everything's organic. We like that. We like it all, warts and all. But anyway, Nana Marfo is our esteemed guest, and why don't you let people know where they can find you out on the interwebs and your work?
Yeah. Yeah. So of course I had my website at the start. Nanamafo.weebly.com. I also have Twitter and Instagram. Nana double underscore Mafo. I mostly Twitter is just mostly kind of my place just to hang out and just kind of
Yeah.
Yeah.
going on in my life. Instagram is a bit more portfolio esque there as well, but yeah, I post some interesting stuff sometimes. I talk about what games I'm playing. Like I also talk about if I'm like making art or making games or like just giving my opinions on things that are going on. So if you want to like just chill, like go check my pages out. I think.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I can vouch for all of that. I've been a long time follower.
Yes.
And Pete, what about you?
There aren't
Where
many
can they-
places to find me nowadays. One of them is on our very public Discord. If you search Rapid
Yes.
Reviews UK, you can find me there with a whole host of other great writers that we have on the Rapid Reviews UK site. But the majority of the place that I spend my time is Twitter, and that is at Pete Beckett 1, which is the number 1.
Yes, number 1.
Yeah, because I am number 1.
Yeah. It's better than being number 2. Or being a number 2. But
No, look, don't make me do Austin Powers jokes here.
That's exactly right. That's where
Quiet,
I was
number 2.
Just number 2 work for. Thank you for joining us on the most insane episode, because it's Randy Pitchford. It had to be insane. I wouldn't want it any other way. Please join us as we... Wait, are we doing another roundtable next week?
Yes, we are. If
Oh, okay.
if the rumor is correct, that is.
Yes.
Yep, it's correct. Sony tweeted it out, so yeah.
Ah, right.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so
So,
in 6 days' time, there'll be another
wow.
Roundtable.
Okay. Time to start my homework.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Okay. Well, again, I really was trying a new ending, guys. I really messed that one up. So we'll try it again. I've been your host, Kylie Wild, and thank you for stopping by Rapid Reviews Radio as you do every week, and we will see you next week. Goodbye.
I need to go and find me some squirt porn.
Oh gosh, please don't play.